This is the Brabus Shadow 500, and to the untrained eye, it may look like an Axopar 28 with a fancy paint job and a higher price. The boat we tested came in at €234,200. However, there is a lot more going on here than meets the eye.
You join me at the helm of the Brabus Shadow 500, and we've been tasked with the job of delivering it from Poole to Southampton Swanwick Marina, specifically for the British Motor Yacht Show. And we're going to get straight into the driving experience because, for all intents and purposes, the layout, the practicality is exactly the same as the Axopar 28 on which it is based. The deck layout is exactly the same. It is as practical as the Axopar 28. You have a toilet, you have a wet bar or a cabin aft, but there's a key difference, and that is the influence of Brabus, who have sparkled their fairy dust all over it. So you have carbon fibre all over the place. You have uprated materials here like this lovely red leather. You have the Brabus badge pretty much anywhere you're looking. It is around 100 kilograms lighter than the Axopar, and crucially, whereas the Axopar has a maximum horsepower of 400, this has got a pair of 250 horsepower Mercury V8s, 500 horsepower, and that makes a difference. The Shadow feels like a driver's boat from the moment you slot yourself into this cocoon of a helm position. You sit nice and low, so you have 6 forward-facing seats, all protected by this wonderful windscreen. The steering wheel is a work of genius. I don't know why everyone doesn't do this. You have key controls right under your thumbs here. The hub stays still, the wheel moves around it, you have the trim tabs here, you have the thrusters, you also have controls for the audio down this side. Of course, a lot of stuff is inside the screens that you have up here, but you also have soft keys on top of the dash for stuff that you're going to use regularly, like the wipers, bow thruster, and the bilge pump, things like that. What's really nice as well is that it's just as comfortable to sit or stand. I'm bolstered now, this is a great position, but if you want a bit more protection, then you can easily sit down and have even further protection from this windscreen. If I was to criticise one thing, it would be that for a reason I can't fathom, they've moved the steering wheel so it's slightly off centre, so you find yourself slightly twisted when you're sitting down like this. You have the trim panel here, the active trim for the Mercury outboards. That should really be this side, and then they could move the wheel over a bit so that it all is slightly more natural. But that aside, you can cruise along extremely comfortably. And that is exactly what this boat is designed for, covering distances at speed. We're only cruising at 20 knots now and using 43 litres an hour. But we were coming into the Solent, we were cruising at 40 knots, comfortably, doing about 100 litres an hour. And at that speed, you can hoover up so much ground, and it's absolutely effortless. You can all sit in this fantastic cockpit, talk to each other, you don't have to raise your voice, and it'll just go and go, even when it chops up a bit. At top speed, we've got 52 knots today, and I've no doubt if you had a few less fluids on board and played with the trim, you'd be getting 55. But it did 52 knots today easily. It's not just a straight line machine either. It is ferocious in the corners. You can really throw it into fast, hard turns, and there's very little loss of grip. It grips super, super hard, whips you round and fires back out the hole. There's so much punch from these engines. Mercury have done a phenomenal job with these 250 V8s. They're smooth, they're powerful, but there's a real whack in the kidneys every time you shove the throttles forward, whether it's from a standing start, mid-range, or right towards the top at 6,000 RPM.
This boat hasn't forgotten its practical roots. It still has the elements of the Axopar 28 that make that boat so good. So you have the wet bar aft, or a cabin and sun pad if you prefer. There's loads of deck storage, be it for the life raft, luggage, or the dedicated spaces at the stern for the fenders and lines. And having the toilet on board makes using the boat in the day very comfortable. but it's not until you get behind the helm that you really begin to understand what this boat is about. Yes, the handling is great, performance is searing, but it's the way that you can cover ground at high speed in real comfort that sets the Brabus Shadow 500 apart.